recently just had my first ever magic mushrooms trip, and I only wanted something mild for my first time, so I only took 2 grams, but boy, 2 grams is still really profound. I was expecting to still be able to walk around a lot and move freely, but boy was I wrong. I was glued to the bed for the majority of the 5 hours it lasted. I planned to take a walk on the trails near my house once the effects had kicked in, but once they kicked in, I did not want to. For me, mushrooms were very, very similar to LSD. The come-up felt very similar, with that sort of euphoric nausea you feel just above your stomach, with the walls slowly starting to breathe and starting to see patterns on the ceiling and walls, and then slowly starting to get into some thought loops. The visuals were less intense, but then again, I did only take 2 grams. I saw some patterns on the wall, but they weren't as intense as the LSD. But looking in the mirror on both substances were nearly the same. I saw all my physical flaws, and it just looked like an absolute creature, a wild ape. The primal urges for me were very intense, more so than on LSD, and even though I did only take 2 grams, I can't express how much I just wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, just scream a real primal scream. As you all know, any problems you have become prevalent on psychedelics most of the time. You can see what you've been doing wrong in life and can make plans to change those things. Anyways, a few of my problems came up. I won't get into them, but and to help cleanse myself from this, I just wanted to scream into the heavens, just a real primal scream, and not like a scream out of sadness or despair or anything, just a cleansing, stress-releasing primal scream. I didn't actually scream. There were other people in my house, and I didn't want them to think I was dying or anything. But later in the day, after the effects wore off, I was driving, and I just started screaming, and it felt great. But it probably wasn't as satisfying since I was not really feeling any effects anymore. It made me just want to drive to a place with little light pollution, set up camp with nobody around, and just sit under thousands of stars and just scream at the top of my lungs without having a worry in the world. And yeah, let me know if you guys can relate to, this urge to primally scream. But yeah, I just had so many primal urges, thoughts, and visions. I had visions of myself just rolling around in the dirt, pooping, peeing, puking. I know that sounds really weird, but yeah, you name it. It was fucking weird, and it wasn't thoughts I had on LSD. The thoughts were just much more primal. I felt just like a pure wild ape. I craved wildness, no societal structure, just pure wildness. I guess you could say pure anarchy, with no boundaries. I had visions of myself going crazy, beating my chest and banging my heads on walls, just going crazy like an ape. And I didn't do these things because there were other people in my house, but maybe to some degree I would have done this. I wouldn't have banged my head on walls, but I probably would have been like beating my chest and stuff if I had been completely alone. Another hallucination I had that I would literally see rather than just have a vision of was that I would see eyes looking at me. The eyes would just flash into my vision for maybe half a second, and I also experienced the same exact thing on LSD, like the same exact thing. And like I said in a previous video, these eyes didn't seem to be like human eyes. They were bigger, they were more like cat eyes. And I think back when we weren't on top of the food chain, we had to worry about cats like lions, tigers, and jaguars eating us, and the most profound thing about them is their eyes. They stalk us, and I think the vision of these cat eyes are just ingrained within us. Anyways, changing the subject now, I had no ego death. I only took 2 grams, but I definitely felt like I didn't matter at all. I was just one experiencing the earth, just an awareness passing through an ape. My sense of self was still there. It just felt like it didn't matter at all. It was useless. Another thing that was pretty profound was my desire to reproduce was very intense. It honestly felt like it was all that mattered, which I guess makes sense because that's what we're biologically imprinted to do. Males are biologically imprinted to spread their seed to, as many females as one. And I guess that's just confirmation that I'm imprinted correctly. In a way, almost everything we do, in a sense, is so we can better our chances at reproducing, especially when we are younger and haven't reproduced yet. So it makes sense that this primal urge was very prevalent under magic mushrooms, which essentially strips you of everything society made you, and you're just left with your ape self. Also, guys, let me know in the comments if you relate on this one. So another pretty crazy thing was thought loops. A big part of staying sane under psychedelics is not attaching yourself to certain thoughts. Just like meditating, you should just let the thoughts come and go, but some thought loops can get pretty intense. You just keep thinking about the same things over and over again. And this is what my brain did, and I wasn't attaching myself to these thoughts. I was trying my best not to, but You know, it was annoying how these thought loops, my brain would just keep going on the same thought, but you know, it was good. It eventually did move to other things. The LSD and shroom loops are pretty much the same, I would say. You know, maybe a tiny bit different. But you know, the thought loops, I would say, are definitely one of the most annoying parts about psychedelics. I also became really grateful for all my friends, and I realized how important friendships are. They play a crucial role in development, and I'm just glad I've had awesome friends growing up. They help you grow and keep you sane in a way. I also became extra grateful for my mother when she made me dinner later that night after, at that point I was on my come down, but you know, still feeling a little bit, and I was just very grateful for having a mother that made dinner for me. So I guess you can say that one becomes much more thankful for what they have in their life under the influence of magic mushrooms. This experience was great. I wasn't expecting much on 2 grams. I definitely wasn't expecting enough to do a whole trip report on it, but surely enough, a lot happened. I'll definitely be taking a higher dose sometime in the near future, and we'll let you guys know about that. Let me know if you guys can relate to any of these in the comments. If you like my content, I would really appreciate you giving me a like. It helps promote the content, and if you want to see more stuff like this in the future, consider subscribing. As always, have a great day and peace.